All right, welcome in Florida Football Insiders Podcast, part of the College Gridiron Coast to Coast Podcast Network. Appreciate you finding us. It is Florida State week for the Miami Hurricanes, our in-state rivalry, probably the biggest in-state rivalry. And then obviously you got Florida State. But to me, historically, Miami, Florida State is the biggest rivalry here in the state of Florida. No better person to talk to about the game than the guy who'll be calling the action from Hard Rock Stadium Saturday night, 7 o'clock. 22nd year as the voice of the Miami Hurricanes, number 7 in the country, or 6 in the country, 7-0. Mr. Joe Zagacki rejoins the podcast. Welcome back, Joe.
Hey, Jason, how are you?
I'm well. Busy time, great times down in South Florida these days. Give the audience a little overview from the guy that's been in the booth every single week. Give me a little overview of the Hurricanes. Obviously, we know the great record in the offense. Give us a little overview of the roster and how things are going. Maybe that the average fan who hasn't watched a bunch of games would see.
Well, it's been an adrenaline-fueled adventure ride, that's for sure. We've been on the edge of our seat the last 3 weeks. Miami finding a way to win games, put themselves in some precarious spots. And they've got a great leader in Cam Ward, dynamic playmaker. The guy, he's the wizard that makes it all levitate. I think they're better than what they've shown the last 3 weeks on defense, but they've been giving up some big plays on defense, gave some big plays last week on special teams. However, they do seem like a very unified team. Everybody's very well engaged. They're 7-0, and they've showed a lot of grit and determination. And I really like the way this team has come together.
Talk about the health of the team. I know the defensive line had some guys come back. Just talk about the overall health of the team going into the Florida State week.
Yeah, we're going into week 8. And to be honest with you, I can't remember the last time the University of Miami has had a team that has been this healthy. Just about everybody is ready to go except for Devontae Brown, who was a starting cornerback, got injured in the Florida game. So he's probably out until the end of the regular season, maybe the postseason, if Miami gets deep into the postseason. But for the most part, they've got the offensive line they envisioned. They've got the defensive line they envisioned in August. And I think their best football is still in front of them.
Let's take you back a couple weeks we had Joe back on in the preseason before the season started. Let's go back to the Virginia Tech game Friday night. What is Joe and your partner thinking in the booth? Last play of the game when they go to replay. What'd you think initially was going to happen?
Well, it was funny. I thought there was something that kept telling me this kid's gonna land the ball in the end zone somehow, some way. It just seemed that it was that kind of night, and so I wasn't shocked that the ball came down, but it wasn't too far away from me because we called the game from the end zone, and my description was the ball is being juggled around. So I don't think he ever had it. I think they made the wrong call by declaring it was a touchdown because the ball was being juggled around. And then Isaiah Horton came out with it. I thought when they reviewed it, I was hopeful that they would overturn it. But the way it's gone for the University of Miami inside the ACC, I was certain they were going to rule it a touchdown.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. All right, then let's go to Cal. A little bit later. You're down 35-10. Everybody thinks it's over. The bubble has burst in South Florida, and all of a sudden, little by little, here comes Cam Ward, and he gets the ball down one score in the waning couple of minutes. Give me a little thought there in the waning moments at Cal after being down 35-10.
Yeah, it did remind me, and I was actually really looking forward to having a game like that, which is hard to believe, but. When Miami was great, when they were in the 80s and early 90s, even the early 2000s, they always had a game like that somewhere along the line on the road where they fell behind, had to fight and claw and win the game on the road, try to figure it out. And that's what this team did. And I kept looking at the clock. When they were down 35-17, I thought, or 35-10, I thought the biggest thing was they scored a touchdown pretty quick after they gave up, which would have been, I think, 35 points in a row.
Right.
And they made it 35-18 because they went for 2.
Right.
So that was a big 2-point conversion because mathematically it kind of kept them in striking distance the way the game needed to be played out.
Right.
You kind of start doing the math on those things. So they got it to a position where I thought, okay, they're down 16, if they can get this to where they're down 6 with a reasonable amount of time, they can win. And that's what they were able to do. But the key was when it was when they were down 13, they got the ball with about 6 minutes to go, maybe a little bit less. And I remember, being around Gary Stevens, you kind of play that clock thing. If you're under 10 minutes, you got to be within 10 to 12, 10 to 13 points.
Two scores.
Yeah. So I said to my partner, they got to score by 3 minutes.
Right.
And they did. They scored right before 3 minutes to have a chance because they had 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute timeout. So once they got it down to 6 with 3 minutes to go, I thought they could win the game. I thought they were going to win the game.
And you almost knew if they got the ball back with a chance to win it, Cam Ward was going to do it with how good he's been. And let's talk.
They had to go 93 yards on it, so that was a little more of a twist and a turn than I anticipated.
For sure. Let's go to Cam Ward again. To me, he's a top 2 guy in the Heisman Trophy race through 7-8 weeks. Just talk about the confidence this guy exudes through this program. Even though the defense has struggled, the offense played great at Louisville. Again, he played great at Louisville. Just talk about the confidence this guy exudes through this whole roster.
If the season ended now, he'd have to be the Heisman Trophy winner. I don't think there's been a better player in the country than Cam Ward. His confidence, I'm not sure that I've ever been around a player with more confidence. I'm not talking football. I'm talking every University of Miami player I've been around. He would have fit in really good with the Michael Irvin team, and Jerome Brown,
the 2000 year, the Sean Taylors, those guys.
Really good with all those guys because they had confidence. But this guy, there's nothing that stops him. Even the pass against Cal, the interception, he just shakes it off and says, "That's the way I play." So we got to live with it, and I'll live with it. And his confidence has made everybody else more confident. Every player on the team is more confident because of Cam Ward, and he holds them all accountable. Offense, defense, special teams. He's like a coach on the field. He's been great to have. He's been one of the best players Miami's ever had.
He's probably been the best quarterback since Dorsey. I mean, to me, since Ken Dorsey's leader, Dorsey was a different kind of player, but that confidence of leading that offense, to me, Ken Dorsey was the last impact quarterback, huge quarterback Miami's had. And boy, Cam Ward, what a move in the transfer portal for Cristobal and that coaching staff. All right, let's go to the defense quickly. Talk about, just give me a thing or two, whether it's schematically or just personal. What is a couple things? If this defense just improves a little bit in these couple areas, they're going to be a really, really good national championship contender.
Stop giving up the big plays. And some of that's been communication in the secondary. But everybody knew the secondary was going to be the weak link. So teams have figured it out. Now Miami's got we're going to game 8. They've seen what the counter to that is. Miami gangs up and tries to strangle the run. And so teams have decided, okay, we'll go over the top on you. You're going to commit your assets to the run, then we're going to commit our assets to the pass game. So now the ball is in Lance Guidry's court. He's going to have to make some adjustments. And I thought, last week was skewed a little bit because they were stuck on the short field once. They gave up a special teams touchdown.
Right.
There were a couple of times where they should have been off the field. They got hit with a couple of penalties that really hurt them in the deep secondary. So they've got to clean that up. But, their identity is to stop the run. And they're going to take their chances that if they can get teams against their pass rush and against their third down defense, that they're going to win the majority of those. The odd number was last week, Louisville was 3 for 12 on third downs. Miami should win those games by a more comfortable margin.
Comfortable, yes.
When you are holding your opponent to 3 for 12 on third downs. But there were some other plays that they allowed, whether it was fourth down or the 43-yard touchdown, that skews that. So they got to be better.
All right, let's get to the rivalry game Saturday night at Hard Rock. Florida State comes to town. They're reeling, one win. You've covered so many of these games over the years where one team might be better than the other or there's equal matchups. Just talk about this rivalry, and these kids all know each other. So many of these kids know each other from the high school days. Just talk about the history of this rivalry and forget about the records in a game like this, right?
I think Florida State is better than their record. And the danger part about Florida State is when do they put it all together? There's going to be a game where they put it all together, and they haven't been able to do that so far. I'm sure that's been most frustrating to their coaching staff. But they do have the talent, especially on defense, to put a special game together. Hopefully, that's not Saturday night. But if I'm Florida State, I'm thinking you have to get more out of your defense, more 3-and-outs, more takeaways, better field position. They're going to have to help their offense. Pin Miami back. They have a great punter, so you got to count on him flipping the field position. And when they do that, their defense has to rise to the occasion, get a 3-and-out, get takeaways, and give their offense some gifts. Give their offense a chance on the short field. I know this, when they can't drive the length of the field. They haven't done it all year. So when they get around the 50-yard line, they're going to try to hit a home run. They're going to throw the ball deep. They're going to try to hit the big play. So I think that's their path to a victory. Something big on special teams. And
fake punt, something weird in the kicking game. Yep.
No, they blocked 5 kicks. They've returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Their punter average is 49 yards a punt. Their field goal kicker has 3 field goals over 50 yards.
Right.
So they know what their path is.
Talk about the fan base. Has the fan base realized that this is a special team down there, that the student body and the South Florida community, are they back all in on the Hurricanes?
I think all you need to do is look at the scene in Louisville. There were a ton of Miami fans in Louisville. There were a ton of fans at the South Florida game. There were a ton of Miami fans at the Gator game. I think the place is the roof's going to blow off Saturday because they haven't been home in a month. Miami hasn't played a home game in a month, but the fans have traveled all this hogwash that Miami won't go to Hard Rock Stadium. Hell, they had 20,000 fans in Louisville. They had, I don't know what they had in Florida at Gainesville, but they were a lot louder than the Gator fans.
And I think you're seeing a lot too. You're seeing the old guys come back. You've seen Michael Irvin on the sidelines, and other guys are coming back on these road games. And I'm sure Saturday night you will see a lot of the old guard on those sidelines at Hard Rock, right?
No, without question, yeah. I mean, those guys, they get it's a double-edged sword for them. All they know is win. That's what they did. So it's easy for them to criticize when Miami doesn't win, and then they get criticized for criticizing. So, but all they know is winning, and that's what they want, and that's what they expect, and that's what they're getting now.
Last thing, I'll get you out of here. Listen to Joe Zagacki, voice of the Miami Hurricanes. Saturday night, 7 o'clock, ESPN, Florida State travels to Miami. Looking ahead, again, it's a game-by-game deal. I get it. Let's assume we win the game at Florida State, or with home Florida State. Looking at their schedule, you got 2 tricky road games. At Georgia Tech, probably going to be an early game. Who knows? And then you go to Syracuse. And we know Syracuse has been dangerous. Over the years, they pulled some upsets. Give me a thought just of the path ahead for the Canes, especially the 2 road games.
Well, they're going to be favored in every game. Georgia Tech, since Miami's entered the ACC, doesn't matter what team Miami has. Georgia Tech's always been a pain in the ass for Miami for whatever reason. Sometimes that just happens. And then Syracuse, the last time Miami played Syracuse was 2017 down here. To be honest with you, I don't know that Miami's ever gone to Syracuse since Syracuse has been in the ACC. I think the last time Miami was there might have been 99.
Big East days.
Yeah. And they've got a very good quarterback, and they're playing good defense. But the reality is, if Miami wants to get to where they think they can go, got to go win those games. Georgia didn't complain going to Texas. Miami can't complain going to Georgia Tech or Syracuse. You got 5 games left. The mission's pretty clear. And Coach Cristobal talks about, go 1-0 every week. That's kind of a common theme with modern day coaches. So I sign off on that. Focus on Florida State. And then next week, Duke comes to town. But you're right. Those 2 road games are tricky, but there'll be no excuses. You got to go win those games.
And you got the intrigue of Manny Diaz coming back to town from the Duke head coach, and Duke's having a good year as well. So you got some intrigue and some storylines to keep the team motivated. I think there should be no shortage of motivation. Forget about who's on the schedule. You got road games to deal with. You got Manny Diaz coming back, rivalry game. It's all, like you said, it's all right in front of them. Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Joe Zagacki, tell the audience if they can't hear the radio broadcast locally, where can they find the radio broadcast of you and your team?
Odyssey.com, Miami Hurricanes app. You can download that on the Miami Hurricanes app. And then we're going to be on Sirius XM. And I don't remember what channel, but we're going to be on.
They can find it. Yeah, the fans will find it if it's on Sirius XM for sure. So, Joe, have a great call, man. Appreciate the time. Keep up the great work, and hopefully we'll see you in the ACC title game undefeated, playing for a playoff berth, sir.
Okay, thank you for having me.